bring to order the Friday Audit and Control Committee meeting. Today we are gathered to discuss the tentative budget as a follow-up discussion in regards to the past week's committee meetings. Through the week, we, as committees and as this committee, have discovered some areas of adjustments to the proposed budget that we'd like to finalize today, and also some areas of concern that we will be discussing. Through the week, we've had some good conversation. I've only had one person get yelled at, which isn't too bad. And hopefully today we can continue with that. There are some amendments that have been put forward that have already taken place. Could we have an update of the current proposed amendments that were put forth by the committees?
Yes. What? Okay, so these things are divided by section. So you've got increases to appropriations, decreases to appropriations, revenue increases and revenue decreases. So starting at the top, in the PPD, the Portland, Pomfret, Dunkirk Sewer District, it was discovered that there was a missed insurance entry to the tune of $8,609. So that amendment is to add that in. The $1 million adjustment that you're seeing was done at the Planning Committee yesterday. All that they're doing is they're moving a $1 million grant expense and revenue from one subdepartment to another because it was kind of misbudgeted where it was placed. So this is that it's a budget neutral adjustment. The next two were proposed during the planning meeting yesterday. There was one proposal to add $100,000 to the planning department budget.
Be specific. It wasn't it was a suggestion.
Yes, it was a suggestion. Thank you. To add $100,000 to the planning department's budget for job training, and I believe that was essentially considered to be a payment that would be paid to like JCC to host job trainings. Another suggestion was to establish a new capital project account and add $500,000 for land acquisition, also for planning.
And this member of the planning committee did not like those two suggestions.
Those suggestions were suggestions because the planning committee did not have a quorum. So that's why I just am treating them in that manner.
Right.
Just in
That's right.
yeah, just for purposes of audience.
And then we've got a handful of sheriff's office adjustments that were not included in the budget that should have been. Vacation buyback, shared services vehicle fuel, and shared services communications. So these items right here are sheriff's office adjustments to add to the sheriff's office's budget.
What do they total to again?
The total comes to $148,100. And there is no offsetting revenue to those. So these are true appropriation increase adjustments.
There wasn't any formal vote on that one either.
Correct. Technically, these are also a suggestion because there was no formal vote.
So the only one that has had the formal vote is the water, the district one.
Yes.
That one.
Yes.
As to my knowledge, there has been no other formal vote.
No other
correct?
formal vote. Yes.
Okay. So the only one that really has already been amended is the very top one.
Correct.
The others are at this point discussion.
Are essentially for discussion and suggestion.
Yes.
Yes. This highlighted box right here, this particular department represents Safety Net. I know that there has been a lot of discussion and concerns that the budget for Safety Net might be a little light for next year. So I added that there just in case the committee decided that they would ultimately like to increase that expense budget as well.
All right. And on the other side of the ledger?
On the other side, we have, again, this $1 million that is budget neutral. And then we have an admin services adjustment. They are reducing their, this was a social services adjustment. They're reducing their overtime budget based on trends. They were comfortable reducing that by $50,000.
So, all in, we're on the hold for $100,000,
Yes,
without talking about safety net.
correct. And then we have revenue account increases. These are there's this one increase to the Jamestown Airport for the lease revenue, to account for lease revenue for Hangar A and the restaurant that are currently in negotiations. So this would be essentially adding that revenue into the budget. Again, this $1 million is budget neutral. You'll see the other revenue adjustment for that down below. And then we have the DA's office. There was a suggestion to add an account for additional grant revenue at the DA's office. So there is $500,000 that's being proposed as an addition to their
He
revenue.
would like that, his slush fund, and I think it belongs in PJ's so-called slush fund.
That is a good amount on that particular one. Okay. That's what should expect. Is that conservative, or is that what they should expect?
I think that
Sam.
I think it's a reasonable estimate.
It's-
Sam can speak to
We should
that.
expect that. That's basically taking all of it's a couple different grants to get to that amount. It would be discovery and aid to prosecution, and this is also assuming we get aid to prosecution again next year. So potentially, if that grant does not come in 2026, like we're expecting to get in 2025, we may not meet that revenue number. And it's also just, we'll take the DA's ability to self-balance. We will have to use fund balance essentially going forward at this point, because they've had some deferred that they've been able to offset it internally. This would basically eliminate that possibility as well.
Does that, if we get the grant, does that have mandated spending?
It's to offset DA expenses. I mean, there are some, we can't use it just for everything, but I believe personal services, et cetera, are covered by that.
So there would be no additional appropriations required for the grant,
Okay.
should we get that award.
That-
Yeah. So, and just to note, so the DA's office, their local share increase from 25 to 26 was only 42,000, but their total local share is I think about 2.8 million. So this would take that local share amount down to 2.3 million from 2.8. So this would not be, added to fund balance. This is not an overage of revenue, but this would decrease their local share.
And free up a little local share.
Essentially, sure.
Potential, correct?
Mhm.
The sewer district adjustment the offset to that will be a change to their fund balance increase.
Oh,
And
thank
fund
you,
balance
thank you,
slash
thank you.
action balance.
Okay. Okay. Increases of fund balance, 86.
But when we're talking fund balances, we're really talking how this flows through the balance sheet, but relative to the tax cap, it's these expenditures that count,
Because the
right?
sewer district fund is separate from the tax levy, the net
Okay.
adjustment is an increase in their
Fair enough.
use of.
So, Jen, you don't have anything for off-track betting revenue.
Oh, that is correct.
So,
Okay. Kitty, what?
after discussion with the county's representative to Western New York Off-Track Betting, that's Oregon, he explained that the reason that our anticipated revenue going forward is going to be different than what we've seen in the past is that in June of this year, the New York State authorized a 5% tax rate reduction for off-track betting on the condition that those proceeds from that would be distributed to the member municipalities. So we haven't seen the impact of that yet in our reimbursement or our proceeds from off-track betting. But I asked him, because there's an offset in the allocation to our receipt, that I asked him to go back to their financial people and get an estimate of the amount that the Chautauqua County will receive in 2026 compared, or the amount we will receive. So their financial officer came back and said that we can expect 2026 payments of $530,621.
Well, that's precise.
And in our budget for 2026, we have 400,000. So I don't know that I would want to be as precise in our budgeting as their estimate, Fred, but
But you might take
might take $130,000.
Round 100, yeah.
Yep. That's a round down, but
Yeah. Fair enough.
round number. So I would offer that as a suggestion as well for the committee to consider, as additional OTB revenue of $130,000.
Are there any other suggestions or areas of discussion that we'd like to add to this list before we get into discussing them?
Well, I don't know if this is now or later, but in terms of, let's say we do all of this fine, and so we're still a couple 100,000 without counting the gap on, well, let's say we're even vis-à-vis the tax cap between safety net on one side and these other things on the other.
Well, and I want her to tally it, but is there anything else that we want to add to this before I ask her to tell us where we're at?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So, before Fred gets into that question, where are we at as with the suggested changes as we are looking at it right now? So it would be a net, what?
So the net overall change, we would need, so the balance that we would be at is roughly 56,000.
To the positive.
In this case, positive numbers are not a good thing.
Correct.
So it would be 56,000 of fund balance. So that would include all of these changes up here, which do not obviously include an estimate or a number for safety net.
Mhm.
That's not in there.
Understood.
All right,
But not all of, so this 500,000 and the
Yeah.
8609 would not include, or I'm sorry, would not affect the tax levy, because those are unrelated to,
one's a capital,
The
yeah.
500,000, depending on how it's funded.
Could, that one
oh,
could.
yes, also, yeah, I guess that's a way to look at it.
Because if there is going to be 500,000, we're all also have to put it in. So
Mhm.
they do establish that project. Any funding is-
Okay, so I think the picture's kind of been painted. Let's start with the easy one. The first one of the 8,000, that one, I believe, is necessary. And so that one, we can kind of, if you will, I think, unless anyone is objecting to it, we can X that one off the list, is to keep it as it has been amended already, so. I think let's tackle the sheriff office's public safety amendments, and I think we can have those on the table as a discussion, because I think that we're going to find that those ones are necessary. It was an error that they need the fuel, right? Or we could say that we don't adjust it for them, and they can find the differences within the department throughout the year. Do you think that's a potential, Sam?
That's not really
Yeah, I cannot
Sam's.
speak for the
Okay.
sheriff's office.
Yeah, Riley is the fiscal supervisor for the sheriff's office. and
Okay.
She's currently out on maternity leave, so it's kind of a,
Never have a baby
I know.
Why, I know.
I move we split the difference. Tell the sheriff to go get half of it, and we'll pony up the other half.
Do we know how much he was able to move around this last year in sense of budget adjustments or cover anything? I mean, you know, I know that we've throughout the year have had some that we've adjusted for him.
Sure.
I think also through conversation that they did have some potential grant money that they would be able to use. I'm not sure if it would be able to pay for any of this. But some of it would be for expenses, but not in this large quantity.
That includes the 50,000, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's,
That's how it
the first
highlights.
cell that's highlighted stays
Yeah.
white, and then the rest of them turn gray when you highlight all of them, so.
Thank you.
The 50,000 to the 4,500, and the total is 148,100.
On the other one, so Fred has a, what would half of that be?
$74,050.
Okay.
So Fred's suggestion is to come up with, you know, or make right the 75 and have the sheriff then realize that there could be a shortfall in some of these accounts as he goes through and would be expected to make up the difference as the year goes on with some budget transfers into those particular accounts. Anyone else have any comments or suggestions around that?
I would be more inclined to fully fund it, but I'm, I think I told you guys yesterday, I'm a family of cops, so I want to give them what they need. That's just my opinion. I think Fred's point is valid, that maybe they could find it somewhere else in the budget.
Yeah, my first reaction would be to fund it. I'm a fan of the sheriff's department, not that Fred's not, I'm not saying that.
No, I am, but it's a big budget, and
But the other
75 grand is a
the
small
other
slap on the
advantage we
wrist
have
for not
is,
budgeting,
I
right?
know Jim Ole, the sheriff will and can find the money, and I just feel by funding it, we're showing more support to the sheriff's department. But I'm not gonna argue it. I'm good with whatever we decide.
Oh, what just happened?
Maybe that's a
Apparently
chicken way of
it's
stating
decided
it,
to
but
change.
that's how I'm gonna say
Not
it.
sure what just,
I think
it just changed on its own.
Come back.
Just in, no, so just, I want to look back at the sheriff department
I
here.
know we did a lot of amendments this year.
What tab are we, is the sheriff?
6.
6. So I want to see what his net changes this year.
Well, he's doing that, my agenda, okay, just to be transparent, my agenda is to make sure we don't invade the reserve, as I'm gonna call it, on a nickel and dime basis to cover overages and to avoid breaking the tax cap.
Yep.
And the reserve to me is for major rainy day stuff or nothing. Is because we're as close to the tax cap as we are. And I would hate to see us start to eat into that because we're afraid of the tax cap. So I want to defend the overall reserve. So that's kind of my agenda. So that then says that to defend that reserve, we need to be hard-nosed about what people expect to spend in the coming 15 months.
You know, and just looking throughout the sheriff's budget there, you know, the proposed is a 6% increase in the local share amount of $1.5 million. It's a pretty sizable increase to the local share in comparison to some other budget items. I think that
75 isn't 1 point in that 6.
some of it is, you know, in response to some contractual increases, which is something that's a little out of the control, but there are other areas where there's some creation of positions. He'll probably, may have those positions filled right away, may experience a little more vacancy savings than anticipated too, which could help. So I think, if this was a small department, I wouldn't entertain that suggestion. But at the size of the department that we are looking at, I don't think that asking the sheriff to find the extra money in the budget is a hard ask. Does the chairman have any opinion on the matter? You're the only one we haven't heard from.
I'm going to give you a technical opinion. This was a budget input error that, bearing in mind that the budget proposal from the sheriff went through multiple levels of review, and this error was not discovered by yours truly as well, until we got to the meeting the other day, and then it became apparent that there was something wrong with their shared services budgets. So it was discovered late in the game. If it had been discovered a month ago, we never would have known about it. It would have been in the budget. Legislator Johnson, I agree with your perspective that we should be hard-nosed, but correcting this error doesn't need to come out of the fund balance, because we have discovered additional revenue that's available that could be utilized to correct this error. So if we were talking about fund balance, I may have a different opinion, very similar to yours, but if we wanted to be more hard-nosed with the sheriff's budget, my opinion is we should be doing it in general, not focused on budget error.
So if I could change your "or" to an "and," I would agree.
Okay? I'm not sure which one that was, but,
In other words, I would be hard-nosed with the sheriff and hard-nosed with everybody else.
okay. Yeah.
But technical, the $1 million or more exposure and safety net, is that in your calculation for?
It is not.
So that's really $1,056,000 negative perhaps, right? Because that
Yes,
safety net thing
depending-
looked dangerous.
Depending on the number you all desire to add to the safety net budget, should you decide to do that.
So another thing to keep into account, Fred, is that yes, the safety net is an option, is something up for discussion, but also we have two green ones just above that are currently negatively affecting our number that we're looking at.
I'm gonna vote to kill
And,
those.
well,
So-
I have them highlighted in green primarily because they're not a necessary requirement of an operating budget. They're suggestions to further certain elements of the planning department's tasks. So it's, that's
So-
essentially why I highlighted those.
So, but-
because those-
Understood.
But Dan, to my math, that 600,000 we're looking at there, boom, that's coming to the good. But the
Understood.
$1 million safety net thing is a real risk to the overall thing.
Sure.
So let's say we're 56 to the bad now, we get up to, what would that be? 600,000, 550,000 to the good, getting the green thing out of there, and all of a sudden we're 450 to the bad if the safety net things happen. So that makes me uncomfortable.
So one thing I always like to be correct when we're discussing the budget. One thing that I do know is through the sheriff's calculations that he expects that the fuel that was missed is an error, and that what we are proposing would be correct. Now, if we wanted to scrutinize the sheriff's budget and find 75,000 somewhere in it, I think we potentially could find something that is an overage, but I don't feel that it is in these particular accounts that we are discussing. So I think my suggestion would be, on my own side, is to fully fund these, because we know that this is an expected expense, and that these should be funded at that level. If we wish to do any adjustments to the rest of the sheriff's budget, then we look at other accounts. But, I'm more in tune that these are probably, we would be undercutting these knowing that we would be undercutting them moving forward, just as we would the safety net, but at least we are correct on these. These ones are a little easier to correct in my eyes, and so.
So we make a decision.
So, if someone wants to make a proposal, either way, we'll see where it wants to go.
All right, I'll make a motion, motion that we fund those sheriff items in full.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey,
One, Mr. Johnson is opposed. I'm in favor, so 3-1. It is carried.
Okay, so I guess my next question, really quickly, is the desire to add $1 million of simply appropriation to the safety net, or are you trying
We
to
have not
increase the
voted on
local
that
share?
at all.
We got there yet.
The only thing he has.
I know you haven't voted yet.
Okay.
But,
I wouldn't say we're there yet.
okay.
We're still working through.
Because there's a revenue piece that's tied to any increase in appropriations.
So we,
I just want to make sure that we account for.
so the next item I want to discuss are those two green items. So we can either leave those on the table or take them off the table to make sure and get our numbers as accurate as possible. So let's discuss those. The suggestion from the planning department yesterday, which is to add to the training and also to establish a new capital project. And so those two items were brought to us today to discuss in a little further detail. I will start off the commentary that I feel that the training is a good suggestion. I think that though through work and various things that the universities in my research have, and in the past have been working in cooperation with the county in many faucets and avenues already. I think that, we could use the mental hygiene department in the sense of their collaboration with the universities, and they are doing this. I think that maybe if we weren't looking at such a hole in other areas of the budget, this could be a good input, and it can certainly remain a topic of conversation in the future. And I kind of feel the proposal to put the money into a reserve capital account for the parcels of land so that the development agency has the opportunity to purchase those properties if they come up. Currently, they already have money in their ability to do that, but also I think I wasn't in favor of the ability, I think the notion of that was that they would be able to, we have, my point is we have a process for those capital projects. And I just don't, I think that capital project it's important that we follow through with the way it's been laid out. If we wish to change that, I think that would be the first move. Anyone else have?
Well, I think we're talking about two different things, so maybe just focus first on the job training. I apologize for my voice. I'm a retired teacher. I'm all about the training. I think it's a good idea. I'm speaking on behalf of my constituents now who, I think a lot of them could benefit from that, and their children and grandchildren as they're looking for work, and so I don't know if you want to, I don't want to combine, I think they're
Two separate
connected,
things.
but they are two separate
Yeah,
things.
but-
Yeah. And as long as I'm speaking, I support the idea of having a fund. I want to know what is the process for the county to obtain property? Is there money there? I heard greenfields, I heard brownfields, I heard, I think Legislator Larson's idea is is something to think about. You know, if there is property out there that the county can purchase to put in, you know, a new business, new industry, I think who would be against that?
Well, and I think one thing to remember is the county currently has quite a bit of property that is available for just that is not being utilized either. So it's not like we're out of land
Okay,
either. There are sites, that whole Ripley site is open, right?
yeah.
So in sense, until we market that and get rid of that, why would you buy 500,000 across the street? Because now you have, it's another way to look at it. Okay.
That's a fair point.
You know, we have property.
Mhm. I mean, again, I'm from Jamestown, I'd like to see something in the city or closer.
And we do there as well. You know, there's several acres in the current parks that are available now.
Mhm.
Some of those, you know, and we currently have places vacating some of those places now.
Fieldbrook's gonna-
So, yeah, you know, you have several large ones that are otherwise fairly new facilities too that are going to be coming up on the market. There's something that some of these places, businesses aren't so apt to get into because of the dilapidated condition the building is in, or the expense to upfit the property to what it needs to. But, you know, some of these places that unfortunately are going to be vacated are good places too.
Yeah.
I guess my feeling on it is, these were brought up, this is kind of like an emergency resolution.
Yeah.
Hasn't gone through committee, hasn't gone through the legislature. I know we're assigned to make these decisions today, and I appreciate that. It seemed just a little too big, too soon, not enough time to digest it all. I also have a concern, if I'm correct, we were going to give the 500,000 to the IDA to buy this property. We're going to give the 100,000 to them to do the job training, am I correct?
I think that is the notion.
Well, there was two figures. In speaking to Legislator Larson yesterday, he said, cut that in half.
Yeah.
250,000. But I mean, I think your points are well taken. There's already property. I just wonder, what is the process if we find some property?
My concern with that, just I'll finish. You don't mind if I finish?
Go ahead. No.
We have control over that money now, which we should have because we're the legislature. When we turn that money over, and I'm going to use this, and this isn't being a sour grapes or anything, but we saw it with the murals and stuff. We decided we didn't want to do that. They decided they wanted to do it, and they were able to do it. I would vote no for both of those, or not vote no, I would not bring them forward. That's just too soon, too much, and, okay, I'm gonna quit talking, because the next thing I shouldn't say, so I'm done, thank you.
And you were going to say, and it's bubble gum and duct tape in terms of process. So I'm with you.
Any other comments?
Kitty has her comment.
Well, I, not necessarily on the topic, but just the process for today and then getting into the full meeting is, you know, by the end of your meeting today, you will have come up with the proposed amendments to the tentative budget. That will get pre-filed as a resolution, and that will go through the committees during committee week, so any committee could propose further amendments to the proposed resolution.
Understood, yeah.
So I'm just, I mean,
Oh, no,
you've been
I-
through it, but maybe the other two
I get
haven't
that,
as
but
much,
that's
so I
how
just
I-
wanted to let them know
That's how I
that-
feel it should happen.
Yes, yeah, and that's why they may not be aware of
I would rather see
the
us all-
process, so I just,
I'd rather see us all put it in
yes.
than all of us having to take it out. if that
Yeah,
makes
I know
sense.
you understand the
Okay. Oh,
process,
I'm-
I just meant to
I
try and
am as smart as I
educate
look.
everyone on the committee so they understand what will happen after today.
Mr. Chairman, if I could elaborate on Legislator Nelson's question about the process. When the IDA wants to pursue the purchase of property for an industrial park, just to use the example, they would normally come to the planning board in the capital planning process and say, hey, we've got an opportunity here. And they would propose it, and we would find it showing up in our capital budget. However, we might choose to fund that. What they have done for the 2026 budget is that they have gone to the capital, or the planning board and said, we are investigating more properties. Part of that investigation involves, we need to do some environmental reviews, we need to have some attorneys reviewing, so we would like $350,000 to continue the process of investigating those properties. And oh, by the way, we already have additional money in that project from carryover. So this would give us enough to continue the process of pursuing those properties that we are interested in until we get to the point where we are ready to come to you and ask for funding to make an offer. So that's the process that we're in. If we gave them more money now in this budget, it would be for more investigation. They have asked for the amount of money that they feel they need for the investigation.
And that process has worked.
That process has worked.
Now, I would vote in favor of it if I had the 50-acre dairy farm that I knew they were going to give me $500,000 for. But I don't have a 50-acre. That's being funny. I'm being funny right now, if you aren't catching that, so.
Did I address your question?
So are we,
It's mine.
well, have we approved the money that they need to continue that process? Is
That's
that-
in the, it's in
That's in
the
there, and that's,
tentative budget right now.
Yes.
and there's no, we're fine with that. So
I'm
this
fine
is-
with that. yeah.
This is additional.
Yeah.
What Legislator Larson was suggesting was additional money.
Right.
And my point, which I don't know that I made it clearly yesterday, was that they don't have a piece of property they're ready to buy. And it's a process to get to the point of the county purchasing property, and so they're asking for money for the process. They've got some money, they're asking for more money to continue the process, great.
Am I correct, too? The IDA wasn't asking for it?
Correct,
It was more of an offer.
That's right.
right.
Yes.
As suggested, I would like to, now that we've discussed them both in some detail, let's separate them out so that way, I thought that discussing them together was okay in the sense that they were suggested from the planning department, so they're both open
Right.
for conversation. But before we, in the consensus to make a decision of whether to remove them from this said list, let's start with the establishment of a new capital project for the land acquisition. So, if I'm not mistaken, it sounds as if that we will be removing that item and are content with what is in the budget currently, but do welcome or do appreciate the ask and sense that I think we all would be in favor if we could promote more properties and give the IDA the complete tools they need to really market our place, our county, our workforce area that could be developed. But currently, we already have that. We have other places, and we do have funds available for that already. And, we really, in looking at the uphill battle we do have in other areas of the budget, this is not the time to do that. And let's follow the process that's already in place. Does anyone else have any other comment just on that particular one, or really want to have a battle of keeping it in place?
Follow the process as it is, I concur.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to bring it up, and really, I think just trying to represent Legislator Larson's idea is, out of respect for the spirit of the idea is to bring industry to Chautauqua County.
Understood.
That's his goal. And I think we would all support that.
That spirit is alive and well.
And I agree, and that's all of our, that's my goal too, but, there's other, just
Well,
looking at
as long
this
as the
particular item.
process is in place so we can
Yeah.
do that, and then,
Yeah. Let's discuss
okay.
the job, so you can, if you will, negate the 500,000. That one is one that we've, I think, established, and that one's, it's a good idea. It's something for discussion further through the year, and I think we can move on to the next item that we were discussing is to add to the budget for job training through a third-party institution.
Mr. Chairman, I have some additional information for the committee.
Please.
Not having an opportunity to discuss this with Mark Geis yesterday, I sent him an email last night saying, what do you think about this idea? Basically, I'm thinking job training sounds like a pretty good idea to me. But my concern was, how would you spend the money? And could you implement this by next year? And he came back and said, I'm sure we could develop a program, and I'm sure we could spend it in 2026. That being said, I don't think it should be designated strictly for JCC. It needs to be as flexible as possible. So I told him that I would share that input with the committee, which I have now done.
Thank you. And I think his flexibility, meaning all of our institutions within the county, such as other colleges, other training centers, all BOCES, all sorts of institutions for training.
Okay.
With that being said, I think we should still remove it.
So do I.
Okay.
I'm going to say we should keep it in. I think it's important.
Job training is fine, but I just am uncomfortable with just tossing an extra $100,000 into a department to, okay, guys, go ahead and see what you can do with it. I would much rather be in a position of having the IDA and JCC, for example, come to us and say, hey, here is a program we would like to fund. SKF is willing to go 50-50 with us on it. We're going to train CNC machine operators, can you contribute? And then we would have something specific to look at. And we could go, yeah, that's a
Go
good
find
idea or
that
not.
money then. Here, we have some money kind of earmarked for that.
And my point is, rather than giving, planning and development or the IDA the flex fund, I would rather keep those kind of flex funds at PJ's level. And if that proposal comes, we can spend, what do you want it, our surplus money on it. But I don't, what happens is when you give departments flex money, it gets spent. And I'd like to see a concrete proposal before I ever bid off spending it.
Well, they'd have to account for how they're spending it.
Sure.
They'd have to say, here's our program, we're using that $100,000 towards whatever. And I think without the money, they're just gonna, I don't know if they'll really pursue a program.
Well,
I would like to see them do that.
Just to further discuss what Legislator Johnson was discussing, I think it is important to, I think the establishment of the need needs to be there as well. Is this needed? I agree, it's a great idea, but is it needed? And if it is needed, or if they, you would think that they would have proposed something like this. Look, we have this need, we encounter this a lot in our, and, you know, we've really come to the conclusion that we need to develop a training program, and it's going to be through ABC means. And we expect that it's going to need $35,000 to continue, or to be established, and we would like to fund it this way, and we're asking for this. So that's, you know, I think instead of just putting some money out there and saying, please go establish something, and that, is it needed, blah, blah, blah. I appreciate the thought, but I agree that the process isn't to implement such a program that, or to create a program at this stage of the game. If there was an existing program already that legislator, you know, that we would be proposing to increase some that's already established, that's one thing, but to create something all new together at this stage, it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea to be just adjusting the budget this late in the game for no set parameters, if that makes sense.
Well, and I'm a big fan of wants and needs, and we've got a want to do this, but we haven't established the need to do it. And when the need arises, I can't see myself voting against it.
I agree, and I think that if we were faced in this situation, that it was in the budget, it was a proposed increase, and that it was a new item, but it was, had been vetted out and was brought to us by the planning department, that a lot of us would probably agree with it and support it. But I think
If it had arms and legs and forethought and all the rest of it.
I agree, and so, you know, I don't think that we are in a disagreement of the thought. It's just, at this point of the game, I think, you know, the extra funds really could be utilized in other places, looking out for the tax dollar, for the taxpayers, you know. Creating this is a great program, I will admit, but I think that it needs to.
I mean, this reminds me of the resolution from a couple months ago about job creation and job retention. And I mean, if you're sitting on this legislature and you're not totally in favor of that, I suggest you go home, and by not adding this is not in any way saying that I'm not in favor of it.
Understood.
Again, it comes down to processes, it comes down to, and again, I've got more to say, but that's all I'm going to say. I'm willing to remove that from the budget.
Well, I guess I want to see it stay in there. I think, what is our budget, 309 million? $100,000 set aside for that. As a taxpayer, I'm like, good. I know we don't have a specific program, but I think it's a good thing. So, that's my feeling. I know, I hear your points that there should be a specific program. And I'm thinking I'm going back to a planning commission meeting I was in Jamestown, where a car dealership came in with an idea. They have trouble finding mechanics. And they took these kids, high school kids from BOCES, working in their car dealership. It's one of the ones on Washington Street, I think the name, Dave Ward. And they brought these high school kids in there, and they're showing them, here's how you do the maintenance on a car. But they were just, you know, volunteering, hoping, and it was part of the program at BOCES. They're thinking, if you could do something like that, where you're bringing in, maybe a kid who's out of high school a couple of years and sitting at home in his parents' basement thinking, what am I going to do with my life? Maybe I can get an internship at a car dealership. I can, you know, be trained for that, and this could help. But I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking I think there's ideas out there. They haven't, they're not, you know, they don't have arms and legs yet. But a little bit of money for that, I think, is, I think it's a good idea.
Kitty, what do you?
Well, I know these are all good ideas, but sometimes when you compare it to something else that you're considering, you might come to a normal conclusion of what's the priority. I mean, you also have safety net to consider. You've already agreed to keep the sheriff's changes in. So, you know, if we're gonna add $100,000 here, where would you take it from in the context of the items up there or elsewhere in the budget? Because that's where we're at. The things need to balance out at this point.
So, also, this is an item that is up for discussion. It isn't something that we need to vote on. And in general consensus, I'm seeing that we are not going to have the ability to carry it forward. So, we don't need to vote. What could happen is if someone wanted to make a recommended proposal, whether it would carry or not, that would be the process. So if you wish to propose a motion, but it may not get seconded, or we can move on to the next.
Well, I feel, yeah, it wouldn't get seconded.
Understood. So that, but that's the option. And I wanted to at least clarify what that option was. So I think what you could do, we all are in agreement, but at this stage of the game, go back with Legislator Larson and develop this, and let's see it in the budget next year.
Mr. Pavlik, you are a diplomat.
Let's see it in the budget next year. Let's go on to our next item. Brings us to safety net. It does not. So one, before I've been kind of leaving the safety net to the end. I think that let's discuss the airport potential revenue. That is a potential revenue source of $20,000. I think that I did feel some reluctancy in the airport manager to increase those. I agree with his reluctancy. I don't know if we will be able to institute someone into that immediately where we would experience $20,000 in revenue. But am I open to maybe a partial? Yes. I think that currently that space is resided by Luscombe Air Service that is not yet vacated. When are they going to vacate? Well, so it is not available to rent yet, and that could take some time for that to develop. He also had some reluctancy. I think that if he felt confident, he would have included some revenue, but he chose not to. I think in the restaurant, we've found that that's another thing, and then, you know, let's just say there's a lag in creating a contract with law department that we know is delayed, but they're getting better, and what type of priority would this have? So 20,000, I think, is too much, and I'm not in favor of 20,000. Am I in favor of 5,000? Is it worth it?
Yeah, I mean, for how material it is in the big picture, it might.
It could end up being a potential hazard. So
I'll make a motion for 10,000.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, we didn't get any numbers. Do we know what the hangar was, the potential?
Yeah, what
He
is it
removed
for?
22,000 because it was 22,000, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what we receive it normally in a year?
And the restaurant,
That was for both.
Yeah.
oh, well, the restaurant,
Budgeted
we were
last year was that.
6.
Yes, I agree. I was going to say 5,600 or 58 or
500.
Did she say
Okay.
6,000?
Times 12.
So basically what I'm saying is, boss, you need to get these things rented by mid-year. Go do it, that's your job.
understood. I mean, and that's why I was comfortable with something, but I don't,
But 20 is a little too optimistic.
Yes.
Hence I take 5, or half of it.
okay,
And the restaurant's a possible, not at all.
understood.
Yeah.
I mean, a very
I'd
good
love to see it
possible.
take off, get that take off, airport restaurant. But,
But history is not on our side.
But-
No, yeah, I mean, if you look at that.
but we all know it's struggled.
Half sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of half. So would someone be willing to make that adjustment for the revenue and make it official, I suppose?
I'll make or-
So,
I believe Fred made the motion.
Fred.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so that one has been amended and adjusted. So 10,000 for revenue in the airport. Another revenue source that would be up for discussion is let's do the off-track betting. Is that something that, what do we want to realize safely in that as a legislator, Chairman Shagnon had pointed out that we do have a suggested amount from the source. Are we comfortable with keeping that at an increase of 130,000 from what we originally proposed in the budget?
I am.
All right, I would make that motion.
Okay. Second?
Yeah, I would second that.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one is carried. So that one's good. The other revenue would be for admin overtime. That one is up for discussion. We could make that one official. Anyone have any comments or questions about admin overtime? It's an additional 50,000 that it would be a reduction. So it'd be a reduction of 50,000
Of expense.
of expense.
I would accept that proposal.
Okay? And a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Second.
Opposed? So that one's carried. Another revenue account is the district attorneys. So the proposed revenue increase of additional grant funding that is available would be 500,000. Discussion around the increase in that revenue amount.
My understanding is that is a reasonably hard number, is that correct?
Sam? Hard number.
I mean, there's a history there, that's what they've received in the past, and
Then I would make that change. So I'd make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one is carried. And as far as revenue,
This 290 is formula-driven. That would be the offsetting revenue to whatever you plug in for safety net. So
Okay.
whatever appropriation increase you decide to add for safety net, the revenue that corresponds with that would automatically generate below in that highlighted field.
so is there any others besides safety net?
I'm sorry, what?
Is there any others besides safety net right now? Is that the last one on the table?
Yes.
What is our net change now that,
You mean if you
Take
take
zero.
What's the score so far?
what's the score so
For safety
far?
net?
Yeah.
And remove anything out of safety net that you
Yeah.
temporarily put in. So right now, there is no changes proposed to safety net, because we have made none.
So
What's the net?
net is, to the good, 533,000.
Okay.
Fair.
So that's what we have been able to adjust.
Good job. So the question is, do we want to invest 500 of that into safety net? And come out close to even?
I'm sorry, it's actually to the good by 541,000, because that 8609 is a district, which does not
Adjust
count
this.
toward,
Mhm.
correct.
Yeah.
All right, so when we talk about safety net,
Yes.
what does that include?
It's welfare.
What does that include specifically? Like what programs?
What does it pay for?
Safety net is the program itself.
Yes. It has its own sub-department.
Doesn't safety net kick in after a certain amount of time when the other benefits are exhausted?
Yeah.
Like 60 months, I think?
Yes.
It's the money that kicks in after 60 months of,
Okay, so someone has been on public assistance for 5 years, and then this,
60 months.
right, this would kick in after that. Yeah, I know. I mean,
And it's a mandated.
Mandated by the
cost,
state.
so it's-
We have to pay it.
yeah.
It's a statistical
Well,
risk.
Okay. I mean, I'm speaking on behalf of my people, okay? Mary Ann Haynes lives on Fifth Street in Jamestown. East Second, there's another one, lady goes, who, this is who when I go door to door. She's the lady who can't pay her BPU bill. And she has an autistic grandson that she's supporting. And I called the BPU and I got them to put her on a payment plan. And she's in her 70s and still working as a cleaner. So that's why I do this job. So when people say, well, that's welfare, I take offense to that because she's worked hard. And that's who I represent. So I go to bat for those people. They're my people. They're the ones that need someone in their corner. So and that's why I think and cutting her taxes would help her. So that's
with
where I'm coming from.
The budgetary concern here is, we will have to pay the safety net cost, whatever they are. That's a required mandated cost. So I think the question at hand is that there's a feeling that the budget is too low. So it's, whereas to right size it, we would increase it, which would mean we're, we have $541,000. So it's kind of correcting a shortfall in the budget right now. It's not going to change the fact that we will pay that one way or another.
Your
If we exceed
constituent
the
is gonna
budget
get-
during the year, we will
Well-
come back with an amendment, and it will likely have to come out of fund balance. Or
Well, I
we're
see
increasing the levy to
an
cover what
obligated-
we think the actual cost might be.
I mean, I look at the unobligated fund balance projected at 36 million. And I think,
So right now in the budget, half of the safety net increase in local share is being covered by 600,000 of fund balance. So,
Currently, the last year's amended budget was last year's budget was set at $8 million, correct? And we have
Yes.
overspent that we're at $11,700,000 to date, plus we expect that it was going to cost us a little more this year. So we expect that to come in at $12,500,000 this year as an actual expense. Now, as history says, we have been, this trajectory is up-down. Currently, it's been on an upward trend at a pretty severe pace. We have not kept up with our budgeted amount. Kitty, were you able to develop
yeah,
that
I'm just
graph?
trying to pull it up.
So we have been trying to play catch-up since its low number was $5 million, and every year it's steadily climbed, and our budget has lagged. The money we have budgeted has been low consistently. I think that using fund balance has been our option. And we have utilized that because we don't know where it's going. Is it a one-time expense? So a budget for fund balance, we would typically, or to spend fund balance, we typically wouldn't do so on a reoccurring cost. My argument is this is a reoccurring cost, and it's proven to be, and it is only getting worse, and it is a reoccurring cost. It's happening every year. Next year, we're going to have a reoccurring cost. The problem is we don't know how much it is. In the budget, we have $10 million set aside this year. We are utilizing fund balance, but it is this body's opinion that it probably is going to be light. We don't think that $10 million will realistically cover what we expect to expense in safety net next year. So,
Can I make my comment first?
yeah.
No, I didn't mean
I
that.
don't have any comment.
Let me just say, I totally agree with Legislator Nelson. If somebody needs heat in their home, I want them to have heat in their home. If somebody needs food, I want them to have food. I'm not sure as a legislator that I even need the state to mandate that we have to do that. I like to think that not only myself, but the majority of us would be willing to participate in providing basic things that people need, regardless of whether they caused the problem or they're just caught up in the problem. To me, that doesn't so much matter. If the need is there, I think we need to step in and fill it. I would be in favor of taking that 541 or whatever and applying it towards the safety net. That was sort of my thought coming into this. Anything that we had above and beyond, we would put towards the safety net. And Legislator Nelson, the good news is, in 2026, if the safety net exceeds what we have put in there, we're still going to take care of those people. It's going to be taken.
Have to.
But again, whether we have to or we don't have to, that's not my, I want to do that, so I'm not going to be opposed to that, but for budgetary purposes, I think we should take the whatever the number is, 541, or sorry. You can tell me it and I won't remember it by the time. I think we should take that, put it towards safety net, and call it a day. I don't mean a day like we gotta go home, I mean, I think that's our last
Well,
adjustment.
yeah, I think government should work for people like Mary Ann Haynes. That's who I think of when I come to these meetings. I apologize to the people who have lakefront property when they come and talk about some of those problems. I think, well, I think you're gonna be okay. But.
So I had, Kitty, if you scroll back down if you would.
No,
So
it's the next slide down, she's going to.
Okay. So this particular slide is something that we put together where it has actual expense is is it red?
Yeah.
It's orange or red.
The orange is-
Orange is what we've actually spent and expect to spend. And then the blue line is what the budget was adopted. And as you can see, there was a tendency to, it's been up and down, really. It took us a little while to catch up when we had a bump, and then it took us a little while to react. It's pretty, I would say, if you go from 2021, 2022 backwards, it's expected. My point in concern is now from 2023, 24, 25, and what our tentative projection is, we're a little wide. And that's the reason we're really debating now. So,
And it could come down. It could plateau.
It could.
But can I make a point? It just seems to me at a macroeconomic level, that dip coincides with PPP and ERC and the $6 trillion the federal government threw at COVID, which kind of put all sorts of things that put a whole lot of money in people's pockets. And then we're kind of getting back on that trend that was established from 2005 to 2014. So I wonder if that isn't really an up and down, that's just a one-off down because of what happened at that time frame.
Well,
Understood.
Yeah, there's definitely the effects of that, but also going back to 2008, that's when safety net started to increase.
And that was the recession, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then the other chart here is, I also put together, this was the local share. So that's, the net effect too. So you have, years where the adopted, I calculated the net total. So they're over this whole period, we spent $5 more million than was budgeted over that total period.
So Jen, another question too, just to make sure Bob's recommendation at this time would be, if the additional 500 and change was applied, what would that do in increase in other revenue? So that has a tight effect, I mean, 80,000,
750,000
Expense.
appropriation, yeah.
So.
Maybe, you might be able to get 760,000 out of that, but.
okay. So we'd be realistically right-sizing it even closer to
the
about
million.
700,000,
Yeah.
if you would.
750,000, the
Okay.
corresponding revenue with that would create a $791
Well, slow down.
variance to the positive. What? Oh, I'm sorry, 9,400 because of that.
So you might be 765, maybe,
So,
it
yeah,
might be.
so
Well, you
760.
lost me. So what's the multiplier?
So there's, anytime that the local share amount is inputted, and also there's a formula, we get more grant money.
Well, I understand. But if we add $500,000 to this expense side, how much grant money is going to come back to us?
Well, she just calculated it,
Yeah.
so it'd be the net effect
Yeah.
would get you to balance out to the
Okay.
bottom
That's
line
right.
number.
Right.
Yeah.
My new number is 765.
765-ish because there's still,
Yeah. we
still
can-
$1,200 of wiggle room.
That's correct.
Or no,
And-
no, it's still 12, it's 1,200 over
Yeah.
actually.
And
So, but that's answering a different question, I
Well,
think.
and to be clear, so next year,
That's my new
let's
number.
run down another scenario. So let's just say, we want to think of your constituent, and we do not raise the taxes any further at this stage of the game, and we say we're content with this, and we anticipate that we are most likely probably going to come in under budget and safety net. Moving forward next year, we would probably be spending it and making it right, based on history out of the general fund. And then, also, there is still coinciding revenue that matches that, we wouldn't be making it all out of general fund. Also, the extra revenue we receive would be going up too. It's not so there, whatever we make right, we still get that additional bonus, if you will, from state aid
And
aid.
if we can make safety net a positive thing, Tom, and what I'm saying, I believe in, it is an expense that we're mandated to spend that has a direct target to where it's going, If we need an extra $350,000, it's mandated, we have to spend it, and it's going to the people that need it,
And,
for the needs that they have. So it's kind of like
the hope of moving forward with we're assuming it's going to be light. It could come down. Doubtful. So it also, maybe the department would be able to come up with some extra funding and help cover it themselves. Could be something. The other thing is it could be an area where we continue to monitor and we expect that we can cut our own costs. I've been an advocate, we need to do the program, how can we do it less expensively? Right now, we're spending a lot of money on it. How can we watch our expenses? Can we provide a better alternative for housing that reduces our expense? Can we, how can we reduce our
Don't
expense?
you feel they're-
Get the people onto this other programs, and
Working on it.
they are working on it, but at what, there's things in the works that haven't taken fruition yet, so we haven't realized any savings. That's another thing, and, those are the layouts.
Should we do it? Should we?
Well, anyone else have any more comments? But we have a couple, Bob has an amendment, but.
764?
So just walk me through the math on the
Yeah,
764.
I think so.
I'm
I'm with you. I just,
So
Legislator Johnson would like to just know the math, how we've determined that number.
Well, yeah, he went from 500 to 700, and I watched that, and but.
I think I understand, but I want to hear it clearly.
So I keep changing the number so that this number down here is
Must be zero.
fairly close to zero.
That's-
We are currently $1,600 below the tax cap, so we
Right.
have about $1,600 of play.
All right.
So increasing that expense to 765,000, by 765,000 even, and taking into account the offsetting revenue
Okay.
for that, that puts us at 1,250 of the $1,600 wiggle room that we have.
All right, and so you solved for approximately zero answer. The way I wanted to ask the question was, is if we bump this budget, just use a round number, 500,000, that then has a positive effect over on the grant side, on the revenue side. So if we move the safety net account up by 500,000, what is your model, then how much revenue does that generate us?
By
Less revenue than she has in there right now.
So-
Yeah.
It's balancing out so that
Well, I understand.
of the 500.
But
Ask the question a different way. What is the funding percentage for
29%.
Then why in the current budget is the funding for safety net at 41.5%?
The repays. It's, but I wouldn't, that's also, I would not, I'd be very hesitant on increasing the repays. It's,
So explain to me repays.
Yeah.
I mean, safety net is difficult and very complex, especially from the revenue side of it. I am slowly kind of getting into it as of last month. I can't explain repays as of now. I don't know if Sam or Diana, but
The department opens SSI cases and essentially looks to recoup some of the expenses through other spots through social services. That will vary year to year depending upon the expense of safety net. They're successful in opening cases and recouping. But that is, what we're mandated in getting as revenue would be the 29%. The repays is what the department is kind of getting back for that expense. So, but that will vary. It will not be a fixed percentage
Yeah.
like the federal and the state revenue.
and I think currently in the budget right now it is slightly overstated. So I would feel comfortable with this amount right here, increasing appropriations by 765,000 with a 29% that we can guarantee that we will get back reimbursement.
But again, you're solving for balancing the budget to the tax cap. And the question I'm asking is, I haven't bought into giving them more than 500,000 to start with. So I just wanted to know how much the 500,000 would have
How much the
bought me.
500,000 would actually generate?
Exactly.
$145,000
Okay.
of revenue.
So you would be, whatever, $146,000 to the good net if we just bumped it $500,000.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, there it is, 170
Yeah,
something.
186, yeah.
Yeah.
186, yes.
Okay. Because that was my proposal, is, okay, let's bump that budget 500, not 760.
Gotcha.
You know, I think it was, one thing I wanted to do was get some input from the, that side of the room in that, and I was glad that you did and stepped in with some of those numbers, because it's important. Also, we were trying to hem and haw this as well. You guys are and ladies, are the ones that are in those numbers daily and what's going on and what's realistic. And we've learned that through those budget meetings, and we had our time to have that information back and forth. And I think it's important, even though at the end of the day, we have the decision to move that forward, we also respect and value your opinions on this as well. And we don't want to be handing you a slate that's unachievable or something that you would have, wish you would have advised us differently. So this is the time to speak that piece too.
And I appreciate
Yeah.
what was said with the percentages too, because I was on board, I was in the legislature when safety net went down and we realized like
Savings.
$2.5 million of savings, and we all had this aha moment of, there's our money, and we were all feeling good about this. I think you remember, Kitty, and then Christine Schuyler came up to the microphone and said, hang on a second, because, and I'll use round numbers, the 75% that the state was paying of that is going down to 45%. So that number that
It's a
you're
wash.
seeing doesn't really exist. You know, we were all thinking it was whole dollars, our dollars, and the state had just lowered their participation in it, so. And I like the thought of, we know what the percentage is. Let's not pretend.
But you said you were comfortable with the 765
Yes.
number as being.
It's not that number, it's the percent
Yes.
reimbursement that he's saying he's comfortable
It's
with.
the number we have to
So if you
have.
budget
Yes.
$1 million or
Yeah.
10 million,
Yeah.
he's saying we're confident we're gonna get 29%
Yes.
reimbursement for whatever expense number you do budget.
Even
So-
though our history is 41.
He's talking about one specific revenue stream. The
Yes.
repays are a separate type of, it's not a direct reimbursement percentage, it's just based on what we can get.
And it's not a guarantee.
That's not
I
guaranteed.
understand.
I just have
But
one
it's-
more clarity.
But it's the historical trend.
So I want to
Yeah,
lay out,
But we have budgeted as an
That's
independent
why we have
revenue,
these
it's
people.
not.
so just for the record as well, I want to lay out the other scenario, just so the body knows, and also anybody listening knows what the other thing to do is, okay? So, you know, we realize that even by increasing it today, we have the potential that it's probably light. To right-size that and just increase the levy, then that would put us over the tax cap. And then what would have to happen then is it would have to be voted on by the legislature by a 2/3 vote to surpass the levy. And then what that would end up having to do is then we would have to, once that passed, then we would be able to then vote on the budget as it is. And do we need to do that? Or do we hope that it will, it's going to perform with, close to our budget? And if it doesn't, what we then can do is make it right with fund balance. So if we don't wish to increase the levy.
I feel
So-
as a member of Audit and Control, and the reason we're here today, and I'm honored to be on this committee, I would be comfortable with the 762 to get us under, so we're not asking for a,
Okay.
whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, I don't want to vote to go above the tax cap.
Okay.
I think we all agree we have a healthy fund balance. To me, it doesn't make sense to vote to go above and beyond the tax cap.
Okay.
Third and fourth options.
Put more.
Let's see.
Put more in.
You can use more fund balance.
Put $1 million.
Okay.
Understood.
You could, but with the 500,000 you found, you could reduce the amount of fund balance being used in the budget.
Understood.
So, just-
Yeah. So the other option, like Kitty said, we could reduce the use of fund balance. We're using 600,000 in fund balance currently. We could reduce that even more. But,
Sorry,
and so then actually we could reduce the total levy by, how much would that be? Let's just say we took out the extra 600.
That's not what I meant. I
Okay.
meant if you don't increase the safety net budget, leave it the way it is.
Yes.
Currently, we're funding half of the local share increase with $600,000 of fund balance.
But
So
what would
you
that do
could-
to the levy? It would lower our levy, is my point.
No,
The
it
levy
would
would be the
not.
same.
The levy would be the same, but you would be reducing all those other expenses and changes that you made. And then we would be on the decreasing the use of fund balance in the budget. So you have the
Understood.
same net levy.
let me catch up for a moment. As the budget sits right now, before we make anything in this final account, is the total budget using fund balance or not?
Yes.
Yes, we're.
So we are using fund balance to close an operating gap?
No, we
No,
went
we're-
through the uses of,
Go ahead, Katie.
I mean,
on,
In that question, and yes, we are using that fund balance to close this operating gap. There is an operating gap in safety net, and we are utilizing fund balance to do so. It is currently in the budget.
Some of it, yes. So
Yeah.
basically, we're using, in this budget, as it sits, we are utilizing fund balance for essentially one-time increases. So we have bonuses for collective bargaining agreements that we're paying for, we're utilizing fund balance to pay for this year, because they apply to this year only. We have the fly car, the new district increase, we're paying for 50% of that. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. We're paying for 100% of that startup cost with fund balance. And then we're utilizing fund balance for half of the budgetary increase to safety net as well.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sure.
I just, so we're.
Sure.
You said the startup cost for the fly car.
Startup,
If you
Which
point
is a
to the
one-time.
operating budget, and it's
In the
it's
local-
already listed in the
Yeah.
tab. What
So-
tab
so
is
you-
it, Tom?
if you go to the operating budget tab in the very, very front of your budget book, it's the
It's all
very,
right
very
there.
first tab. That first page shows you where we're using fund balance and essentially what we're using it for.
It's all written down already. It's just,
within,
But
Okay, so the,
so I think, is there any other questions or comments in regards to this particular item?
But again, getting back to, my understanding was absent one-time hits, like the upfront piece of the collective agreement, our accessing of fund balance was essentially zero. Is that not correct?
say that again, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So the one-time things, the fly car, the bonus portion of the collective agreement. But if you take that out of the equation, are we using anything out of fund balance to fund year-to-year operating expenditures? And the answer
Nothing
is no.
other than what we've talked
No.
about.
Nothing really other than this exposure
correct.
to, okay.
So the.
That's what I thought, but I just,
Oh,
you
yeah.
had me going there for a moment.
Yeah, so the financial management policy that's approved by the legislature on an annual basis, I believe it was just approved in maybe June or July of this year, states that it is the goal of the legislature to only utilize fund balance budgetarily on unique one-time costs,
Correct,
not
that's-
on recurring operating expenses. So when it comes to the budget, that's all that we utilize it for. Obviously, it's up to the legislature if you decide to handle it differently in any given year,
Mhm.
but that's what we utilize it for up front in the budget, unless the legislature decides to do differently.
Right, and that's, I just want to make sure that we're living by that.
Absolutely.
Sure, and so, the fourth option is, removing the use of that 600,000 in fund balance currently, realizing that we probably are shortfalling this in bumping this safety net up. None of us are in favor for going over the tax cap. So what then we would do is send it back to every department and say, we need $2 million to stay within the budget. And that's the other option, because also what you're saying is you wouldn't want to realize the use of fund balance next year to make up this potential hole. And is it a hole? So that's,
But I'm with you, except I don't see how did you get $2 million?
Right now, we're budgeting $10 million currently for safety net, and we expect it, based on what we are spending this year, we're going to spend $12.5 million this year on it. And we only have in the budget right now $10 million for it.
So that's
But
your
that's
2
not
million.
the net local share,
Yeah, understood, but I mean, that's what our budget amount is, you know, we're already, we have that much of a hole in there potentially.
Well, then that strikes me as the, you know, the elephant in the room.
That's what we were, yeah, that's correct, that's what we're discussing. you know.
And so, you know, whether we give it 500,000 or 700,000 just to kind of get right-sized, you still got between $1.5 million and $1.3 million to
That's correct.
size elephant. And so I am absolutely in favor of going back to the department heads and say, you guys, we're not going to tell you where to cut your own department, but we need at least $1.5 million to get this right. And I'll take it pro rata as a percent of everybody's budget if I have to, unless you guys got a better idea, but yeah. That is the elephant in the room. If we're going to live up to what we said, which is we will not invade fund balance for year-to-year operations, then that's what we got to do.
I mean, or, although there doesn't sound like there's a consensus to do so, right-sizing the budget by increasing the tax levy, I mean, maybe there's, I mean, I think you'd be in, you know, layoff situation significantly if we're gonna try and go back to departments to reduce that much out of our budgets.
That is true.
Or reduce road work that's done, reduce services, cut the sheriff's patrol, that's what it would take.
And
So if, in my view, if you're having an incremental recurring expense that you think is gonna be recurring, you would increase the levy for that new incremental increase.
and
So
that,
if there's not a will to override the tax cap this year to do that, then yeah, there's gonna be
so, yeah, it's
more dire
exactly,
consequences.
but it's what I've been chipping about all week, which is if the tax cap is running at 2% or inflation or the lower of both, we can't be going around increasing this 3% and that 6% and the other thing 5%. You're going to blow through your surplus and you're going to end up having to increase the tax levy anyway. And that's why I've been chipping about, hey, you know, productivity. We got all of this technology coming down our track. We've got AI coming down our track, and it needs to come back down to pay dirt if we're going to stay under the tax cap. And if we're going to go over the tax cap and we can't face that, then let's do it now. Because I sure as heck don't want to come out of here, whatever it's going to be, 7 years down the track going, whoops, our fund balance is done, and here we go. And who spent the fund balance? No. Let's bite that off right now.
You can use it to bridge the gap a year. I mean, I think it's pretty likely that we'll be looking at overriding the tax cap next year should a lot of the things that are out there do come to fruition. So
And-
the strategy here was to kind of bridge a year, because next year would be, rather than trying to override the tax cap 2 years in a row.
So I think Kitty makes a good point there is, it was something I was going to bring up because I could see the direction that the conversation was headed, is that, you know, next year is a situation where that could be done, and most, you know, I don't want to say one way or the other, most likely probably will be done. I think, I don't agree with your filling the gap for 1 year, because history has shown that we've done that the last couple of years in that account. It isn't, it is.
1 year, just last year for safety net.
It's
In the
been,
budget.
it's just been a couple of years, but I think it's, you know, can we afford to do it again out of general fund this year? Yes, I think that we can and not break the bank, but I think that it also gives us some more history, that maybe we can see this thing plateau and head downhill. Maybe we'll continue to see a rise, and we're going to really have to double down to catch up. I think the other thing is,
It just is, oh, there was another point I wanted to make, but next year we will have the ability to maybe pass that tax cap and catch up if we need to, or right size whatever the budget would be. It's,
See, I just, in the $300-odd million budget, you know, I would sweat that budget to death before I went to blow the tax cap. Or the expenditures that $300 million represents.
yeah, no, and that's what we've set.
All of us have.
And
it's
yes,
tough.
that's
I get it.
headcount, and yes, that is
Yeah.
headcount reduction.
So, yeah, I mean, you've sat through, you've been here for all the hearings. I mean, where do you, just like off the cuff, can you think of a handful of things that you'd be comfortable reducing to the tune of $1.5 million?
Well, sure, but that is back, in my view, backwards. I neither, the idea that the legislature is the expert on nickel and diming or dollar and 50 centing, you know, account by account, is just not right. The experts are the people who run those departments. And it's the legislature's job to say, look, we do not want our expenditures as a county to exceed 2% growth. That is your envelope. You operating departments see to it. It's, as opposed to our trying to get in there and argue with the operating departments as to whether or not they need a new fly car or they could move the Mayville fly car to Sherman. And that's just not appropriate for us.
In argument, Fred, I agree, I understand your philosophy. The other argument is this, the legislature, though, has agreed and also committed to those increases. You know, those collective bargaining agreements that you were questioning all week are things that this body's passed. And we instilled onto those departments and department heads those increases, you know. So it isn't back on those department heads to contend with an increase of you know, larger amounts, because we imposed those increases as well.
Well, wait a minute.
Because we agreed and okayed those collective bargaining agreements. So we gave back to them the allowable, you know, we gave them that headache as well, you know, and since, and it's not a headache, I don't mean it that way. What I mean is, you know, we have agreed to some good contracts, and I don't want to go into detail there. You know, I'm thankful for the settlements that we had, and I'm thankful the employees got a plus.
Mr. Chairman, I don't disagree with any of the comments that have been made. I just want to put another perspective into the discussion. This perspective is that we have held the departments, the budget in total, to less than 2% increase, knowing that inflation is going substantially higher than that. So when these departments put their budgets together, they are not asking for everything that they feel they would like to have. They have already trimmed their budgets to keep the total county budget below the tax cap. If we'd allowed to the rate of inflation, we would have exceeded the tax cap, and there would have been more expenditures in many of the departments. So my point is that this budget is already lean when you compare it to the rate of inflation, and that's not just this year, that's last year as well.
And I absolutely understand that. What we've come out here, though, is what we're worried about is a $2 million gap in this one thing that looks like that was a big piece of making that 2%, which we're questioning its validity as an estimate.
Right.
And so if we could rewind the clock, we should have gone back to everybody and said 2%. And oh, by the way, don't do it by just misunderestimating something.
do it real.
So,
That's really come to. You're absolutely right, but that's kind of where we've come to today.
Yes.
and I think, I think it also, Bob wants to say something, but I think overall the budget is maintained what it needs to. We have an area that is really overblowing the budget. And that area is out of our control, it's a mandated service. And unfortunately, it puts the county in a position to try to keep up with it in either direction. Because next year, it could take a dip.
But not likely.
Not likely.
Not
But,
likely. But
Bob?
I sat here, as most everyone, all week, and I'm satisfied with what was presented to us. I have confidence in our department heads. We voted in favor of the increases for the CSEA and sheriffs and all the payroll. I voted in favor of that. I have sat here when there is possible layoffs looming, and I lost sleep at night thinking that I was gonna have to vote to lay somebody off. You're not laying off an individual, you're laying off a family, and that just drives me crazy. We're not saying that would happen, but that could happen, and we all like to reinforce our stances by worst case, best case scenarios, so I guess I'll use it. And now we're sort of nickel and diming over the 500 or 562, so I would feel comfortable. We all are anticipating it to rise, so why don't we just, and this might sound flippant, but why don't we just go with $1 million? We're supposedly, if it's not a recurring expense, if we're doing something wrong at what's the number, 564? Let's do it wrong at $1 million, and then that's gonna take care of even more of if there's an excess next year. And I feel I'm also, not that this is my intention, but this is a realization, I'm kind of helping my friends that would like to see us use more fund balance. Mr. Nelson, and we're accomplishing that. So if we're making a mistake by not using this on, we're not supposed to use it on recurring expenses. If we're making the mistake, why don't we just make a little bit more of a mistake, if I can use that terminology, which is not correct and probably driving everybody who's in accounting crazy right now. But we're doing something a little more wrong, if that's how you want to look at it. But it's going to help out for next year if we exceed the budgeted amount for safety net.
well,
Thank you.
and I'll just rebut that a little in the sense that the issue moving forward till next year is making it right this year with fund balances. That hole is still there next year. So it's not departmental income in there, and we're still missing that void. So instead of putting that extra into it this year into the budget, why don't you just do it during the budget year as needed? Instead of just, it's there again, guessing at what we might need to put in
I
it.
just was feeling
I
a
get
little
it.
liberal for a second, so let me.
My liberal feeling was that we're already using 600,000.
We might
I
be
don't know.
learning from the gambling pact stuff also this year.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't bet on it, but.
I wouldn't bet on us.
Well, I think I agreed with everything you said there, Bob. I think putting $1 million in is more realistic. It's taking more out of the fund balance, but I think then I can go back to those in my camp who say, use more fund balance for a tax cut.
We're doing what you asked.
And I can say, well, I get what you're saying, but
Could we call it the Scudder maneuver or something? I know, I'm not supposed to say that.
So your proposal in that instance would raise the use of fund balance for safety net to 1 million.
100.
So it
the total use of fund balance and safety net.
Would then
we-
become 768,100 is what it would become. Because I believe there's 600,000 plugged in right now. And changing it to $1 million would take us over by 168,000.
160, okay. So then we would use the
760.
760, okay. So we would, that's what the proposal would be, we would just increase it that way.
Using the Scudder maneuver.
One.
I'm okay with that, in the sense that we're gonna use it anyway. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Use it now or
Use it now or later, and honestly, it doesn't matter either way. So, I agree with Fred too, that I think that using fund balance for it isn't the proper thing to do on it in the first place. But, I don't also want to increase this year. I think we can ride it with the fund balance for another year, unfortunately, and I'm going to still hope that we can keep our expenses down, and that it will not be as we're hoping that it will be. And that's how I can say I'm not anticipating using fund balance, but
Well, why do you have a fund balance, and how do I go back to my constituent to say, we're raising your taxes even though we've got a healthy fund balance? I mean, I know we need a certain amount, and we'll probably disagree on what that amount is, but, you know, I'm on city council in Jamestown where we have zero fund balance. We're trying to get, it's like getting blood from our.
And that's, we don't want to run into
And
that.
we're talking about cutting firemen and cutting police officers and
What
that's
happened,
hard.
Tom, is they spent their fund balance, and that's what we're proposing to do today, is
Yeah.
spend the fund balance. So, and if you're in the legislature in 20 years from now, and we continue to spend the fund balance
Right.
at the rate we are, you're going to be in that position. So
Well, how
I
did
would
the fund
retire
balance-
before then,
the-
so.
The fund balance hasn't always been this high. How did it get to that point? I mean, I wasn't here.
By careful budgeting,
No.
So.
but in growth.
There's a lot of things that can impact the adjustment to fund balance. So we never budget to have a surplus just to add to the fund balance. That is just
Right.
not on principle, we don't do
Well,
that.
was
So-
ARPA money involved in that, Sheila?
That has, ARPA money has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
So, let's just say this year, sales tax compared to budget had a surplus of $5 million. All other budgetary items came in right at budget. We now have a surplus of $5 million. Okay, that goes to our savings account.
That's a
That's a very, simple scenario.
That didn't happen, it's a scenario.
It's a
So I'm just
scenario,
saying.
yes. It said if it, conversely, this year, if, let's say, sales tax did not meet our budget, we had a shortfall of revenue, all other budgetary items being the same, we would subtract from the fund balance. So, sometimes we've gotten in the past, we did get some, for the tribal compact Bob brought up, there was a dispute. The dispute went on for several years. When the dispute was settled, they gave us a one-time payment that made up for the whole 3 years, all in 1 year. It was not budgeted for in that year, so it generated a surplus that goes to the fund balance. So, yeah, so any year you might have the net surplus or deficit of the whole general fund at the end of the year, that is an adjustment to our fund balance, plus or minus.
He's asking how it got this high.
Yeah.
Those unique situations that actually did happen.
Yeah, I don't have the whole list right with me, but I know the tribal compact was one of them.
And the thing to remember, Tom, is it's high, but our budget is high, and we were within our parameters of a fund balance, and actually, we are proposing a budget that's lower than our target. Now, the target's debatable, but I'm saying it is a target number based on the legislature as a whole, and we are proposing something under our target.
Yeah.
So we're not even meeting our own target with it.
Yeah.
So-
And just like your own personal savings account, you're not gonna use that, say, to pay your mortgage every month, because unless you're replenishing your savings account every month, at some point, your savings account is, I mean, that's a, a simplified scenario when talking to constituents. I mean, I think they'd all agree they're not gonna use their savings account to pay their utility bill and, on a monthly basis. It's there for when they need the new roof, that those sorts of incremental or one-time expenses, you don't want to have to use your savings account to pay your everyday expenses, because at some
Well,
point,
but-
it would diminish.
But there's a target, like, so I'm just, again, with the fund balance, how much, what if the fund balance got over 50 million? Is there a point?
It does say in the financial management policy what to do if it exceeds
So
the
this is
parameters
Maybe a
that are
big
set.
problem to have,
Yes,
but-
yeah. So we have like outstanding debt service, that would be an option to pay down early.
Absolutely, yeah.
If the bond allowed.
Mhm.
But generally speaking, other one-time things, so
Right.
that you're not,
I mean, that would be the first thing I would,
yeah.
you have extra money for paying down debt,
Yeah.
So look at me, Tom. I'm going with $1 million here, which is a number. I enjoy the fund balance discussion, and maybe I missed something when I went to the restroom, but I don't think so. I'm not trying to be critical. I've just been around enough that when we said, and I say we, I don't, but I guess we set it at 12.5. Then a certain legislator, we want it to be lower. Well, what's your basis? Because it's at 12.5, we want it to be lower. We want it to be 9. Well, it didn't go to 9. Well, how about 10? Which, as soon as you move from 9 to 10 to 11, what was 9? It was a number that was lower. So the goal was just for it to be lower. So we went with 12.5. It's 5 to 15. And I don't even think that's etched in stone, but we went with 12.5. So that was a number. It's lower than 15. So we're kind of negotiating there a little bit. So we 12.5. Well, let's have it at 9. Well, 9 doesn't work. 10. I just said this. So what are those numbers? They're the same number as 12.5. They're a guide. They don't mean a whole lot. They're almost not arguable. So then if the fund balance is at 30 million, the argument is we want to spend some of it. Well, how much do you want to spend? That's never talked about. We want to spend 10. Okay, well, we're not going to spend 10. Well, how about 8? Well, so what is that number? It's a number that I'm hearing you want it to be less. Here's an opportunity. It's not millions and millions, but here's an opportunity. Instead of 564, let's spend $1 million. And the $1 million helps us not exceed the tax cap. It gives us an understanding that we might have more to spend. We probably will next year. So we're going to take some of that increase for next year and take care of it right now. It's quantifiable. It makes sense. It's black and white. It shows at the end that we're under the tax cap. So even though it's not millions and millions, it's something. And there it is in black and white.
So, if I may, I'm going to focus on the word spend. I don't want to spend any of the fund balance. If we have investment options, one-time investment options, paying down debt, returning chunks of the fund balance on a one-time basis to taxpayers, I'm all ears. But to have it be year after year, a thing which funds operating expenses, to me, is just, A, against our principles, and B, an irresponsible financial trend. And I'd rather deal with it now rather than later. So that's,
We need to do something.
Agreed. We're having that conversation.
No, I know. It
All right.
seems like
Well, so
Seems like
the options are on the table for safety net, so what, does someone want to propose an amendment?
Bob, if you propose it, I would second.
I propose that we use the $1 million. I don't know how to phrase it, you know what I'm saying?
So could you please summarize what that entails? So we would be utilizing the excess,
You can-
yes,
What does that put you
Would
against your tax
increase
cap?
appropriations $1 million.
$1 million, and
Yep.
you would increase the revenue by $290,000.
And increase the use of fund balance by
$168,100.
okay. So that's what Bob's proposing.
Yes.
Took the words right out of his mouth.
So you're increasing use of fund balance 168,000?
Yes.
And we're utilizing the extras that we found
Mhm.
and putting that in place as well.
Which we've already voted. Yeah.
So Bob's made the motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And nay.
Nay.
One nay. It is carried. Is there any other area of discussion in the budget that we would like to cover today?
That covers all of the amendment items that I'm aware of, unless there's something else that the committee would like to.
So now do we have to make a motion to accept this, or we
We
just
did.
do the amendments?
We've done it right along.
Okay.
Yeah, you've done it right along, so.
Yeah, but I wanted to do it that way so we knew
No,
at
I
the
like
end
it.
what our tally pot was for the last one.
I like it.
No, that's right.
So it was it was official too. Any other questions? Anything anyone else wants to? Can I just take the opportunity to, just thank the body for everyone being present here this week. It was nice. For the most part, we had great attendance. You guys made it an obligation to be here to work through this. I want to thank all the department heads that came and put together the best budgets that they could provide us with and the work that they've done. The county executive for his work involved, and the staff in the room today, and as you've been in here all week too, for the work you do in your departments and the input that you've had. I hope that you guys have made some mistakes on the revenue side, and we'll see more, and mistakes on the expense side, and we'll have less. But overall, I've appreciated the process this week and everybody in the room. So anyone else have anything they want to add today?
I vote to.
Well, I would echo what you said. For the first time being through this, it's been a learning experience. I appreciate the help, and, thank you to everyone who is involved in this. It's a lot of work, and, I've always known it, now I've seen it firsthand, and it's even more than I thought. So, thank you.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
And a second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Oh.